All right, welcome everybody. I just want to remind everybody that's coming in, and if you're already in, make sure you mute yourself. We're trying to mute everybody. There's going to be a lot of people here.
Oops.
Don't mute me. But we'll go ahead and get started. I'm sure some other folks will show up here. But welcome everyone to our long-awaited reception for our new exhibit, Look, Act, Inspire, Sustaining and Expanding the Community of Naturalists in Santa Cruz County. It's an exhibit celebrating the large, diverse, and growing community of naturalists in our county. My name is Chris Lay. I'm the Administrative Director of the Ken Norris Center for Natural History at UC Santa Cruz. I wanted to let you all know that we're recording this event. And before we begin, I just want to take a moment to pause and ask all of us to reflect upon and acknowledge that the land beneath the Norris Center, where I am broadcasting from, the San Lorenzo Valley Museum, and much of Santa Cruz County is the unceded territory of the Awaswas-speaking Yuipi tribe. The Amamutsan tribal band, comprised of the descendants of indigenous people taken to the missions in Santa Cruz and San Juan Bautista during the Spanish colonization of the Central Coast, is today working hard to restore traditional stewardship practices on these lands and heal from historical trauma. Thank you. As many of you know, we at the Norris Center carry on the legacy and expand upon the work of beloved professor and Santa Cruz naturalist, Ken Norris. We help students of all ages develop their skills as naturalists and nourish their individual passion and curiosity for nature. We accomplish this through curating important local natural history collections, teaching field-based classes, sponsoring internships and research projects, facilitating programs that connect art and science, and collaborating with community organizations to host public events such as this one. This year, we've partnered with the San Lorenzo Valley Museum, and we're excited to be one of the first exhibitors in their new Belardi Gallery in Felton. As many San Lorenzo Valley residents know, this new museum is in the same building as the old Felton Library, which just moved down the street to an amazing new building adjacent to the new and beautiful Felton Discovery Park. The unique challenges we've all faced this year led us to create both an in-person exhibit and an online accompanying website. Our virtual opening reception today marks the launch of our website and a sneak peek at the actual exhibit, which is nearly set up, and we're looking forward to opening for small groups, hopefully soon. This exhibit, I can't believe it, has been over a year in the making, and we couldn't have possibly accomplished what we did without the help of many others. This, of course, includes our host, the San Lorenzo Valley Museum, our community organization sponsors, including the Santa Cruz chapter of the California Native Plant Society, the Valley Women's Club, and the Santa Cruz Museum of Natural History. An amazing team of both students and community members worked together to create our exhibit and accompanying website. From many weeks of Zoom interviews and through hours of editing naturalist profiles and setting up an exhibit in between rainstorms and power outages with masks on at all times and doors open, of course, I want to give a big thanks to UCSC students Jessica Carver, Tatiana Beck, and Justin Long for their unwavering dedication to this project. In addition, Saul Villejas, Sally Ryan, and Emma Wheeler contributed many hours to our exhibit design. Alex Crone helped organize and edit the website. Lisa Robinson, Karen Hole, Ella Tracy, and Jean Andrews were instrumental in helping to plan and set up the exhibit. And Roberta McPherson spent many hours talking with us, curating video footage and finding artifacts for a special part of this exhibit, profiling the contributions of San Lorenzo Valley naturalist Fred McPherson. Finally, thanks to the nearly 100 inspiring naturalists of Santa Cruz County we interviewed for this project, and thanks to the many others that we learned about and didn't have time to interview, we wish we could have interviewed you all. Over the next hour, we will share some of the wisdom we received from the naturalist community we engaged with, give you all a chance to share your appreciation for the community of naturalists in our county, introduce our new Santa Cruz County Naturalists website, entice you to come see our new exhibit in Felton once it opens, invite you to our upcoming speaker series associated with this exhibit, and tell you about an exciting new Norris Center project that we hope will, like our exhibit title suggests, sustain and expand the community of naturalists in our world. As you are listening to our speakers, I want to ask everyone to reflect on two things. One, someone in the naturalist community of Santa Cruz that you appreciate and why you appreciate them. And two, something you appreciate about the natural world in Santa Cruz County or in the natural world around where you live. About halfway through our reception, you'll be given an opportunity to share your thoughts in the chat box. We held this virtual opening in a Zoom meeting mode so that you can see the other attendees, and we will keep you all muted during the approximately 1 hour event, given the large number of attendees. At the end, we'll open it all up, and if you want to, chat with people and talk with people, that's fine. But for now, we're going to keep you all muted. So first off, I would like to introduce Lisa Robinson, the director of the San Lorenzo Valley Museum, to tell us about the new Belardi Gallery in Felton.
Thank you, Chris. Well, thanks very much to Chris Lay and his team for curating this beautiful and very thoughtful exhibition in very challenging times, and of course to the sponsors. The Look, Act, Inspire physical exhibition will open in the Fay Belardi Memorial Gallery of the San Lorenzo Valley Museum. Now, for those of you who are new to the museum is owned and operated by the San Lorenzo Valley Historical Society, which was originally formed as the Boulder Creek Historical Society in 1976. Our mission is to preserve and share the history of the San Lorenzo Valley. Through a generous bequest, the Society was able to purchase the Grace Episcopal Church building in Boulder Creek, and in 1999, the Society officially opened the San Lorenzo Valley Museum. In 2006, the Grace Episcopal Gallery was listed on the National Register of Historic Buildings, and in 2012, the Society's name was officially changed to the San Lorenzo Valley Historical Society. We acknowledge that the Grace Episcopal Church building and the Fay G. Belardi Memorial Building are located on the ancestral lands of the Ohlone people and are part of the traditional territory of today's Amamutsan tribal band. In 2007, there was a move to close the Felton branch of the Santa Cruz Public Library, which was housed in the Fay G. Belardi Memorial Building. And the Society was approached by the Belardi Board of Trustees as a possible candidate to take over the space. The library did not close then, but in large partly due to the efforts of the Felton Library Friends, a new library was built and was opened last year. After the library moved out of the space in December 2019, we started the rehabilitation of the building, which is also listed on the National Register. The library shelves had been removed, but so too had much of the trim work. The non-contiguous carpet was glued down to the original redwood floor. We had our work cut out. I want to say many thanks to the Community Foundation of Santa Cruz County for a grant which covered the cost of refinishing the floor, to Scarborough Lumber for furnishing the paint, Belmore Painting for painting the ceiling and the wainscot, to Rotary, Scout Troop 623, and to museum volunteers for their people power, to the numerous businesses who donated material, and to our members who supported our Fund a Need campaign. All of this was achieved while adhering to strict COVID-19 protocols. There's a picture of the before and after. We were able briefly to open the gallery with the Smithsonian Museum on Main Street exhibition Waterways for just 4 weeks, while Santa Cruz County was in the orange tier. And while we will remain closed for a time, we do have a tried and tested opening plan to keep our visitors safe, which includes reduced occupancy on public opening days, a reservation system, and visits by appointment. We know that you can't wait to see this wonderful exhibition, and we can't wait to show you. Thanks.
Thank you, Lisa, for your continued help, your timely advice, and of course, for the opportunity to show an exhibit at the new gallery. As with any Norris Center project, this event has been powered by UCSC students. Several students conducted nearly all the interviews, wrote the Naturalist profiles on our website, and designed and constructed the entire in-person exhibit. If you were one of the many that we interviewed, it's likely that you talked with Tatiana Beck. Here she is again to give you all a sneak peek at the first part of the exhibit, the Naturalist community in Santa Cruz County.
Thanks, Chris. I have a presentation that I'm just going to pull up and present. So it was nearly a year ago that we naively began the research for this project. And our primary goal was to create an exhibit that reflected the community of naturalists in our county and identified ways to support the emerging diverse next generation of naturalists. And we set out to interview a small select group of naturalists from different parts of the county, different ages and backgrounds, working with different organizations and agencies. And then we very quickly realized that we needed to talk to way more than 20. So altogether, we ended up talking to about 100 individuals. And honestly, we only wish we could have talked with more. At the beginning of each interview, we asked each person to give us a definition of a naturalist. And while everyone has their own unique conception, 3 common themes emerged, which led to the title of our exhibit: Look, Act, Inspire. Naturalists use their senses to really look at nature around them. So with binoculars, hand lenses, field journals, or just with their eyes and ears and curious minds, naturalists observe the world around them. And that can be in a wild natural setting or in the middle of a city. Naturalists act based on these observations of the natural world. They take responsibility for places and species. They manage landscapes, they restore degraded habitats, they perform research, and they speak out and remind us that we all have a stake in protecting the natural world in our county. And naturalists inspire others by teaching, by making art, by mentoring others over many years, by passing on their wisdom to the next generation, or just simply through their example. Naturalists go through stages. So maybe starting as a kid outside, or they become a naturalist in college or after retirement. Basically, you can enter this naturalist life cycle at any point in your life. And the naturalist community in Santa Cruz is much bigger and more diverse than we ever imagined. There's educators and artists, researchers, fungophiles, weed warriors, habitat restorers, community leaders, and so many more, many which we did not get to interview. And we focused some of our energy on a few of these leaders, especially ones that embodied all 3 of the common themes of look, act, and inspire. And one in particular was Fred McPherson, whose lifetime of devotion to the well-being of the San Lorenzo Valley truly showcases the characteristics of a passionate naturalist. And after reading through thousands of pages of Fred's journals and watching his nature documentaries and reflecting on his legacy of education and activism with many other community members in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we finally agreed on a title befitting his contributions to our county, The Watershed Whisperer of San Lorenzo Valley. I now want to introduce my fellow UCSC student, Jessica Carver, who focused on the Fred McPherson part of our exhibit.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Tatiana, for that introduction. My name is Jessica Carver. I'm a fourth-year environmental studies major at UCSC, and I've been working with the Norris Center for about a year now. I started as a research intern and am now an assistant curator working under Chris Lay. And like Tatiana said, my work has gone towards developing both the website and exhibit components covering San Lorenzo's naturalist, Fred McPherson. Although I've never had the chance to meet Fred, he's become one of the biggest role models in my life and throughout my naturalist career. I had the liberty of reading through his entire field journal series, which was no easy task considering it consists of over 5,000 pages spread across 50 volumes, but I would do it all over again. In fact, I'm planning on it. It has been such a privilege reading through all of his work, and I feel as though I've inherited so much of his knowledge and wisdom that he's gained over time about both the natural world and life in general. Fred has taught me what it means to be a naturalist, a teacher, a board member, and an active community member, among so much more. But most importantly, he's given me a firsthand lesson on the evolution and natural history of the Santa Cruz Mountains bioregion and its inhabitants. Purpose of his portion of the exhibit is for us to share that with all of you. Through his writing, I was able to observe how he grew as a naturalist himself. His first journal dated back to 1958, and he used the Grinnell method of journaling. And then in 1985, he adopted what he called supplemental journaling, which is where he added visual aid documentation with the purpose of adding extra detail for his readers and accounting for missed observations. Then in 2003, he transitioned into a digital naturalist, where he documented his various forms of media through videography, which led to the creation of many nature documentaries with the help of his wife, Roberta McPherson. From this experience, I was able to learn how to properly maintain a good field journal and about the importance of documenting my outdoor experiences. I got to witness how Fred translated his detailed nature observations into curriculum to teach students of all ages about the importance of creating relationships with the natural world and fighting to preserve it. Fred was involved in the creation of many environmental organizations and led multiple activism efforts towards preserving the natural world. Through analyzing these efforts, I have learned the importance of fighting for what we believe in, as well as the benefits of strengthening community relationships. Now, nature was not the only thing he wrote about in his journals. He also documented various conversations and relationships he formed with other naturalists, many of which we were able to interview and include in this exhibit. Through him, I got to see how others evolved and how our local organizations came to be. What this gave me was a blueprint of the history of naturalism in our local community. I now have a deeper understanding of and can utilize and build upon this knowledge I've gained to help sustain and enhance our local organizations and future activism efforts in order to help to preserve our natural ecosystems. Overall, this project has helped me grow as a naturalist, as well as meet and create sustaining relationships with so many inspiring established naturalists within our community, which is something I'll forever be grateful for. A lot of our work has gone into this project, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to honor my great mentor, Fred McPherson. He truly encompasses all three themes: look, act, and inspire within this exhibit. There's honestly so much more to be shared about his lifelong dedication to the natural world, and this is only a fraction of the impact he has made on our community. I look forward to continuing my work and inspiring others to strengthen their connection to the natural world with the use of Fred's wisdom. Now, I would like to leave you with one of my favorite quotes by Fred from his 2007 field journal, which reads, "To any future readers out there, remember, whether or not we have met, we are all connected. Our interests fuel our passions, and our passions color the world. The lives we lead and our collective passions are the history of our time. Together, we can make the world a better place." Thank you all for listening, and I hope you enjoy the website and the exhibit. Now, I would like to introduce one of Fred's close friends, Daniel Williford.
Thank you, Jessica, and thank you, everybody. This is amazing. My name is Daniel Williford. I got a chance to work with Fred at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park and helping to train our docents, and also as a TA for his UCSC Natural History of the Santa Cruz Mountains course. And I love that his moniker now is the Water Whisperer of the San Lorenzo. Awesome. I called him the Sage of the San Lorenzo, but both go hand in hand. So sweet. All right. I prepared a few words. Fred affected my life in the greatest of ways. So I prepared some words I want to share with you. All right. For naturalists everywhere, there's a solid connection to the earth. We explore, we ponder, we relish and delight in the fact that as long as the earth is here, we have a friend. In respect to this, things only get richer when you have a naturalist friend to share this friendship with the earth. Fred McPherson was that friend to me, and was the best naturalist friend that anyone could ever hope for. I first met Fred on the river trail at Henry Cowell Redwood State Park along the banks of the San Lorenzo, and this began over a decade of adventures and collaborations in helping each other understand the natural world as well as sharing it with others. From exploring the far reaches of Santa Cruz County with UCSC Natural History students to connecting Henry Cowell Redwood's docents to the San Lorenzo. How to observe, how to understand, and how to share this with others. Fred was instrumental in relating natural history and helping to make sense of it. He was the go-to guy for all things natural, and much of his insights came from his amazing discipline as a naturalist. Fred was not only a friend, he was also a mentor. His focused discipline in keeping nature journals full of specific observations and species accounts has contributed to a clearer understanding of our local natural history and is an important treasure trove to be learned from continually. Not to mention the nature documentaries both he and Roberta created. Also, Fred's social activism and civic participation demonstrated an application of these skills by possessing a strong understanding of the earth and its processes and how we make decisions that affect these very processes and resources. Though it is out in the field that already bright twinkle in Fred's eyes shined brighter, and it is these adventures that remain shining in my memory. Our encounter with the oso berry, a sort of unicorn in the plant world, while well represented in plant guides, it was a plant that neither one of us had seen in the wild. We marveled at its dioeciousness and how close it was to the trail, and no one noticed. We sought out giant red willows. We were caught by surprise by random scarlet monkey flowers, not to mention the very famous Pacific 9 bark in blossom episode. And of course, seeking out the western sycamore throughout Henry Cowell and the San Lorenzo Valley. This is a tree species that held an allure to us both. Its beauty, its structure, location, and relationship to the life around it left us captivated. When one of the giants fell at picnic area number 1 at Henry Cowell a few years back, I called Fred, and he was the first one on the scene with tape measure and camera in hand. I carried these experiences I had with Fred with me always. And as a working naturalist, I strive to take what I learned from Fred and share it. It's important not to lose sight of the friendship that the earth has to offer, but it's even better when we share it with others, like my friendship with Fred, someone worthy of a tribute, worthy of an exhibit. I am humbled by and grateful for the incredible energy and gift Fred McPherson had on this planet in connecting us all with our natural world.
Thank you, Daniel.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really fun to have you here and have you reflect on Fred. Daniel has been an important mentor to a number of North Center students too when he was working at Henry Cowell. So it's just fun to see the connection going back generations. So wow, thank you. So we're at about the halfway point. And if you remember earlier when I started, I asked you all to reflect on a naturalist in Santa Cruz County that you appreciate and why, or maybe it's some part of the natural world that you appreciate and why about Santa Cruz or the place you live. And what I want to do is just give us a few minutes here just to really think of those things and share them in the chat. And if you're not familiar with Zoom in the chat, like if you look in the bottom of your window, you might see the chat icon that you can click on, and then something will pop up on the right part of your screen, or you might have to hit the more button to see where the chat is. But we're going to open up the chat window and just give everybody a couple minutes to just reflect and write. I mean, don't write a novel here, but give us a few sentences on someone that you really appreciate in the natural history community of Santa Cruz, or maybe it's something about the natural world that you appreciate in Santa Cruz. And go ahead and just share them with everyone in the chat. You could just type it directly in, and we'll give you a couple minutes, and then we'll read a couple of them, and eventually we'll put them all together and we'll email them all out so people can see them. So I will stop and let everybody reflect on that and type them in the chat. Wow, this is amazing. I hope people are getting to see this. We will definitely copy this all out. and send it to everybody. It's fun to see that people are appreciating people we did interview, and then there's a bunch of people that we didn't interview that we didn't even know about. So this has been the great gift of this entire project, which is just being that we've been able to really connect with the community in such a bigger way than we ever thought was possible. Oh, this is just amazing. Yeah, I don't want to get in the way of it almost. I just want to let people keep going. Wow. Well, I will let people continue. If you're really in the midst of a thought and you want to write it out, please write it out and submit it. But we do want to move on with our presentation. And I promise you, we will give everyone a chance to see all of these. And we'll put them on the website. That's what we'll do. This is amazing. So I want to introduce now our next speaker, and we're going to talk about the second part of the exhibit now, which has to do with the next generation of naturalists and supporting and expanding the community of naturalists here in our county and worldwide, really. But I want to introduce our faculty director, Professor Rita Maida, and she's going to tell us about one of our exciting research projects that we're starting this spring.
All right, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you everyone for attending and for everyone who's taken the time to speak thus far. So my name is Rita Maida, and I'm an associate professor in the Ecology and Evolutionary Biology program. I'm trained as a comparative vertebrate morphologist, and members of my lab group study the form-function relationship for a variety of marine and terrestrial animals. And the central tenet to our studies, form and function, is grounded in the natural history of the animal we study. So I've been at UCSC since 2010, and one of the few people I first met on the UCSC campus was none other than Chris Lay. When I told Chris that I was new and I was teaching comparative vertebrate anatomy, Chris was thrilled and was incredibly supportive by providing me with specimens to work into the course curriculum for my labs, and he referred great students to my classes. As the director of the Norris Center, Chris has been an incredible source of inspiration. Everything he and his team has been done with great passion for natural history. And when Karen became the first faculty director for the Norris Center, she approached her new responsibilities with great vision. And I watched as she and Chris built impactful student-focused programs. So the Norris Center team, the importance of natural history as a field of science, the connection we have to nature, and the need to preserve and continue natural history science and acknowledge our colonial pasts is why I applied to be the faculty director of the Norris Center. The Norris Center is passionate about broadening participation in natural history and ensuring that the center represents equity and inclusion of all people, especially the Amah Mutsun tribal band. Our goals to be more inclusive have led to a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee and organizing paid research opportunities for students who otherwise would not be able to experience the Norris Center or experience research. So in collaboration with the Center to Advance Mentored Inquiry-Based Opportunities, for short CAMINO, we have integrated these summer research opportunities that will actually start this spring. So these CAMINO Norris Center interns will have the opportunity to follow the transects of Randy Morgan, a naturalist in Santa Cruz County. Randy Morgan was the person that set up these amazing transects in Monterey and Santa Cruz County to document pollinator plant interactions. Some of these transects have been surveyed for over 30 years. And because of these transects, we have the power to study change as well as stability, an example of the value of long-term studies. So these paid internship opportunities would not be possible without generous donors. And therefore, I would like to thank the 30 Petals Fund, Peggy and John Hall, Mike Lay and Sally Ryan, Phyllis Norris, Joanna Miller, Jack Redwine, Tommy Amarg and Tom Anderson, Robert Stevens, and Beatrice Van Horn. And it is fitting that I have the pleasure of announcing these internships today because these are opportunities for aspiring scientists. And many of these aspiring scientists will be further motivated by the Camino Norris Center collaboration to seek more opportunities or even find a faculty mentor with whom they may develop their own independent study. And these students are the future of natural history, and they will be successful with our community support. So you will soon see that this exciting and really beautifully put together exhibit features a new and very talented generation of naturalists. And again, I want to acknowledge Karen Hall, Chris Lay, Alex Crone, Justin Luan, Jessica Carver, and Tatiana Beck. This exhibit would not be possible without their labors of love. And now I'd like to introduce you to our amazing director of Camino, Erica Zavaleta.
Thanks so much, Rita. And thank you, Chris, and everyone for being here and for this fantastic event. I'm really, really excited to be able to be a part of this. And Rita already spoke so eloquently about the work that we're getting to collaborate on together today. So just a little bit about me. I'm Rita's colleague in ecology and evolutionary biology at UCSC, and I was also in the environmental studies department for 13 years before that. And throughout that time, I have been just so grateful for the field opportunities and the natural history opportunities of the Norris Center. I had my first chance to do field science in 1990, the summer after my freshman year in college, and it changed my life, and it's why I am doing the things that I do today. 20 years later, as a professor here, I was teaching a field class, and a student started a really exciting research project about plant diversity in Big Sur, and I urged him to extend it over the summer so that he could expand it into a senior thesis, maybe publish it, but he couldn't. He told me he had to go home and help his dad lay carpet over the summer to help with the family's finances and to pay for college. So in 2017, I had the incredible privilege of being able to start Camino, the Center to Advance Mentored Inquiry-Based Opportunities. And through that, to keep that kind of situation from stopping students with dreams of pursuing environmental conservation, ecology, field science, and natural history. And I just want to share a couple of images with you of the kinds of things that we are trying to make sure students get the chance to do. So I hope you can see this slide about Camino and its programs. So the Camino is a path for students to walk together towards remaking the conservation field, one that unfortunately hasn't reflected much of society, and to remake that field in the image of all of us. Our internship program is Camino Centerpiece, a chance for promising students from low-income, first-generation, and marginalized backgrounds to join a cohort each spring to prepare for and then pursue a full-time paid summer environmental research position at UCSC and to present their findings in the fall. More than half of our Camino scholars to date, there have been about 25, continue with their host mentors and labs over the next school year and build senior thesis projects. Interns from summer 2020 are applying to PhD programs. They are winning awards. Andrew Lopez, who worked with Ingrid Parker's lab, and Miranda Mellon, a PhD student in her lab, won Best Student Presentation at the California Invasive Plant Council meetings this past fall. And they are becoming the scientists and natural historians they dream of being. So we're really, really excited to partner with the Norris Center to expand these opportunities in 2021. And we're so grateful to them and to all of you who are able to help make them possible, especially after this year of pandemic constraints. Our vision is that every student who wants the chance to do field science at UCSC has that opportunity, and that we heal the demographic disparities that have long marked and hindered field science, natural history, and conservation, that the diverse leaders who emerge from our field can remake it stronger, interwoven with justice, more relevant to our lives, and able to thrive because they reflect the best of all of us. So thanks, everyone. And I'm really, really excited for this partnership to start this summer and to grow for a long time after.
Thank you, Erica. I am so excited to get to work with you finally. And I just want to reiterate that a lot of you already know this and we're participating in this, but we have been doing a big fundraising campaign to really help expand the Camino program for some spots to be part of our research team this summer. It wasn't just those people that Rita thanked, but we did a Giving Day campaign back in, gosh, that seems so long ago, like September. And all told, we've raised over $30,000 to support this year. And it's fabulous. It's amazing. So thank you all. So finally, I want to introduce Justin Long, who will tell us about how we can continue to support a broader, more diverse group of young naturalists in the future, and introduce our new website and the first of our speaker series associated with our exhibit. So take it away, Justin.
Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Long, and I'm a fourth-year graduate student in environmental studies. Thanks again for joining us today. I'll be going over, as Chris said, the later portion of our exhibit and a little overview of our website. So for this exhibit, we talked a lot more to younger naturalists than some others because we wanted to know what got the newer generation interested in nature, what challenges they've experienced, who they aspire to be, and how we as a culture could best support them. So the first portion of this exhibit, the first portion of this exhibit is called Going Beneath the Surface. So just like in the ocean, as you dive deeper, you start to uncover more information. Similarly, in natural history, the deeper you dive, the more you uncover as well. At the surface level, we may only talk about some positive or the majestic parts of natural history. But the more we explore the topic and the deeper we go, the more we may learn about issues around funding, accessibility, and representation. So one example here from one of our interviewees, Jessica Correa, she states a challenge that people of color face is the lack of representation and overwhelming whiteness in the environmental movement, especially when the brunt of the climate injustice is faced by Black and brown communities in low-income areas. And she's referring to a lack of representation. So how can we support the next generation of naturalists? Well, first off, we could recognize that you don't only become a naturalist by going outside. Sometimes naturalists start off by watching documentaries, and media can often provide inspiration and awe for people to get involved, especially where outdoors are less accessible. So one of the quotes from our participants states, when I was young, I really got into Animal Planet, and that's when it all started for me. Another important component to recognize that is that you can be a naturalist in urban areas as well, and you don't necessarily have to be in a reserve or a park to be a naturalist. So one statement from one of our participants is, I think the popular conception of what nature and wilderness is can sometimes be exclusionary because not everyone can go to these places. So widening perceptions of what constitutes nature and letting children be fascinated by urban nature and then validating it is also important. We may also need to reimagine how we picture a naturalist. So when you imagine a naturalist, what do you generally see? Most people typically identify naturalists as someone who have specialized outdoor gear, can hike for miles and miles, and is generally some type of taxonomic expert. However, some identify that this convention of naming a naturalist can be exclusionary, especially for those that lived in urbanized areas, which could have larger proportions of people of color and have less access to outdoor resources. Additionally, specialized taxonomic knowledge excludes everyday naturalists that observe nature but may not know the Latin term for the organism And it also erases some of the knowledge that Indigenous folks had and they were also naturalists long before we made the term. So how do we address DEI efforts in the naturalist community? For those unfamiliar, diversity is the representation of many groups within one community. However, without equity and inclusion, diversity is often short-lived and ephemeral. Equity is providing support to help address disparities that may have been caused by socioeconomic background or institutional barriers, while inclusion is providing a warm and welcoming community for those of all backgrounds. Together, we are expanding the diversity of naturalists here in Santa Cruz, but there is more work to be done. This involves addressing misconceptions, taking concrete actions, and listening to feedback, especially from younger people of color. So here's another couple quotes from our interviews. I think it's important to make outreach materials accessible to people who speak different languages, which could be more common practice if we had more diverse people higher up in the naturalist community. Another states, we need to meet people where they are, and you can't make assumptions about any of these categories. You can't assume that people have social media or internet, or they visit your pages. You need to meet people where they gather. So for example, in Watsonville, if you aren't advertising at the plaza, you probably are missing a lot of the community. So taking that in mind, who do you think our next naturalist will be? I'm sure all of you, and probably a lot more. So next, I want to briefly go over our virtual exhibit, which pretty much matches our physical exhibit at the San Lorenzo Valley Museum. Although the presentation of materials in person and online are slightly different, the content and message are the same. So here we have a virtual overview of our exhibit. And you could see we have our look, act, and inspire sections, and we also have a diversifying naturalist. So under the look tab, we have displays about making observations, connecting with other naturalists, and also how to do nature journaling. Under our act tab, we have stories from seasoned naturalists about how they have acted to improve the community using natural history. Under the inspire section, we have stories about how natural history and naturalists have inspired others, as well as artwork inspired by natural history. In this section, we also have naturalist profiles, which includes a short biography of everyone we formally interviewed. Although everyone's knowledge contributed to the creation of our displays, we couldn't picture everyone in all of them, and so we have them here in this section. And finally, we have the diversifying naturalist section, which examines concepts of DEI in the naturalist community. So please come check out our virtual exhibit at santacruzcountynaturalist.org to see and learn more. Finally, I want to mention some upcoming virtual events we will be hosting as part of the exhibit. Our first will be co-hosted with the Santa Cruz Museum of Natural History and features a local mushroom expert, Christian Schwartz. This event is on February 18th at 5 p.m. and you can register at santacruzmuseum.org. Christian will talk about fungi in the Santa Cruz Mountains and how they have responded to fire. Later, during early March, Jessica Carver will also give a workshop talking a little bit more about Fred's displays. And with that, thank you for listening, and I'll pass it back to Chris.
Thank you, Justin. I just want to add a couple things there briefly. Christian, a lot of you know Christian Schwartz. He's an amazing, inspiring naturalist and has his focus is on fungi, but he's really an amazing, like all over naturalist. He just really embraces all of natural history in Santa Cruz. And just to give you a little more of a teaser for his talk, like he was really bummed about the fire because he thought, oh man, all the mushroom mycelia are just going to burn up. And if you look at that, well, if you saw that like mushroom in the middle of the flyer we just made up, that is a mushroom that popped up everywhere in Big Basin, and he's never seen it. So it may be a brand new species that responds to fire. So he's very excited. So come check out this talk in a couple weeks. Thanks to all of you for zooming in to our virtual opening reception. We hope you'll continue to engage with us over the coming months. Please go check out our new Santa Cruz County Naturalist website. We just put it in the chat there, the link to it. Come to our speaker series, starting with Christian. We'll send you a follow-up email about that and how you can register. Actually, it's already on the North Center website. You can go right there and register. And stay tuned for information about making reservations to come with your pod. to see our in-person exhibit in Felton. There's a lot we didn't show you in this presentation, so we definitely want you to come, and we'll definitely notify you when that's possible. And if you're moved to and you have the means, join our community of financial supporters and help us sponsor projects like our upcoming collaboration with Erica and the Camino program. There are many projects you can directly support by going to the Support Us tab on the main Norris Center website. Our website's norriscenter.ucsc.edu. I believe we just put the Support Us link in the chat. And feel free to reach out to me or Rita and other Norris Center staff if you're interested in participating more with the Norris Center community. Finally, I just want to say that during this particularly challenging year, which I know it's been challenging for all of us, this project for me always brought both inspiration and hope. The inspiration from such a talented and supportive community everywhere in Santa Cruz, all dedicated to celebrating and protecting the nature around us, and hope from a young, passionate, informed, diverse, and inclusive next generation of naturalists ready to follow in our footsteps. I hope you will find hope and inspiration from this exhibit too. I thank you all for being part of the community, and thank you for coming and being here at our